I've been reading a little of the Da Vinci Code, rereading. And last night I read a passage about how Constantine, who was a Roman emperor, made a decision to rewrite or alter books of the Bible around exactly who Jesus Christ was, in order to, quill the masses and control the people. And the whole point was he brought together, according to this book, he brought together other men of consequence at the time, and they voted to remove Jesus's humanity, all traces of that from the Bible, so that they could implant a concept of his deity, meaning that if he was truly the one and only Son of God, then their church would be the only avenue to heaven. I had a hard time sleeping last night reading that. I've read it.
Before you go further, we would like to insert something here, and that is, in the same way that you are feeling some discomfort about who was this person, Constantine, who was the one,
a Roman emperor.
In the same way that you are uncomfortable about his rewriting of history, the writer of the book, the Da Vinci Code, is now rewriting his history.
Exactly.
And we say, and it has what bearing on you? You, leading edge creator, you here on the leading edge of thought, you here having your personal experiences, you here with guidance within you, you here with a guidance system that lets you know the only thing that matters to you, which is the difference between where you are vibrationally right now from what you and your life, even the life before you were born in this body. In other words, you had intentions before you got here, and you've added to them every day of your life. And here stands the newly revised, newly constituted, newly reformatted, newly evolved, newly become you, the source energy vibrational version of you, vibrating here as real as anything in the universe, calling you toward it and giving you moment to moment feedback on how you're doing vibrationally. And you're reading some book written by somebody who changed a book, 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 to change a book, who changed a book, who changed a book. And you care because there is nothing about the books that come forward that is even close to the experience that those who were living them were having them, because those who lived it didn't write it down, and those who wrote it down didn't live it, and those who read it later didn't like what they read and changed it, and then the next ones didn't like it and they changed it, and then the next ones didn't like it and they changed it. And we say, good for all of them. We're encouraging you all to write your own book. We don't want you even to be influenced by what the people around you in your current sphere are. We don't want you even to compare yourself with them, but to compare yourself in history that you have no relationship to. In other words, you came forth into this physical body not remembering the lifetime before for a very important reason. If that lineage was important to you, you would have had full recollection of everything that you have lived now. If that comparative experience were of value, but you know why you don't remember it? Because it's not only not of value, it would distract you from this leading edge place. It's like walking into a library and finding the book, or a bookstore, and finding the book that is a vibrational match to what you're asking for now, and feeling the goosebumps bump up on you and taking it and reading it and finding the answers, in comparison with saying, oh, I must read every book in here, and then spending the rest of your life trying to make every book fit with everything that is important to you. You would be so lost in the maze of all of that, you would be sorry you ever walked inside the building. Yes.
I want to talk about the leading edge. I seem to find myself constantly.
Before you go further, we want to beat you up some more. We just want to be sure that you are really feeling the difference between the leading edge, which is the only place that you can stand, and trying to, as you stand here on the leading edge, try to make it fit with everything around you. And the thing about these historical documents is that they're not even around you. In other words, you can't even begin to relate. You can't begin to understand. That would be like someone who's on board this ship who has not been part of any of this, sitting in today and trying to make sense of what's being said here. It would be totally annoying to them. They're not vibrationally ready to, and yet for the most part, as you are sitting here, everything that we say, you're so queued up and ready to hear it that we can feel you just, aha, aha, aha. I know that, I know that, I know that, I know that. And what we want you to understand is that each generation that comes forth, every individual that comes forth, every consciousness that comes forth is queued up for this time-space reality. And the components of what are here are what you are making your life from, not from something that was back there. And we think that the basis of what causes the most hindrance to the most people is that as they stand in a place different from where they personally want to be, as their own life format has played out to them. In other words, the specifics of what they've been living have shown them something that they do not feel that they have achieved, because innately they know it. Innately, that's what all of your emotions are telling you. Your emotions are letting you know how close you are or how far you are from allowing yourself in this moment to be that which this life and the lifetimes before, the non-physical vantage point, has caused you to become. And the most emphatic answer that we want to give to all of you is you cannot bear it as leading edge creators to be less than what your life has caused you to become. And yet the majority of the people that you know around this planet, not only in this time, but in all of the times that have gone before, the majority of those people have felt that distance, that void, and have tried to fill that void in a variety of ways. But the primary way that they almost always go for is by trying to control the conditions that surround them, thinking that if they can control the conditions, they will feel better. And so when you talk about former times, barbaric times, times of massacres, times of wars and rumors of wars, times of emperors and times of religious leaders, times of people wanting to feel better and thinking that the only way they can feel better is by controlling the masses in some way. And we say, it is not different from that today. In other words, the same exact thing happens generation after generation after generation, and you as individuals just have to finally say, that is not working very well. And I don't have to teach the world the other way, but I sure can come into my own ownership of my own knowledge and deal with my own vibrational awareness and let my guidance system, which is streaming and beaming to me. In other words, can you feel the power of the source energy which we represent in this physical format? Source energy knowing you, loving you, recognizing all that you were before you came in this body and all that you are now that you're in this body and all that you are becoming as a result of these fantastic life choices that you're making. And here you are, this magnificent being with all of the resources of source focused upon you, rooting for you, expecting for you. In fact, the reason that anyone could ever feel negative emotion is because you think thoughts about you that source energy never, ever, ever, ever thinks. We only bask in the glorious exaltation of your discovery of your fantastic power and ownership of this life experience. And so there we stand. Can you imagine anything, some old book, some old relic, some old philosophy? Can you imagine anything even coming close to the power of that, you see? And so the dissatisfaction that people feel is that they're running around looking in places where they can't possibly find something that's right there beckoning them every step of the way, and then comparing their results with other people. People say, but Abraham, it's true. It's written down somewhere. And the thing that we like most about this discussion that you are giving us and the book that was written, the thing that we like most about that is it's making people come to realize that there are things that are written down of all nature of things. Friends, everything that's written, as far as you are concerned, must be considered as fiction because it's not about your real life. It's about something else, you see. Your real life is about this moment in time and the combining of the emotions within you, you see. And so we are so looking forward to the day that you say, I'm writing my own book, and I read that stuff for entertainment, or I read it for clarity points, or I read it for inspiration to launch rockets of desires. But never ever again am I going to use anything outside of me as guidance when source energy pulses within me every moment of every day, calling me from where I am to the best possible place that I can be in this moment. Source never says to you, and what are you doing there? Source never says to you, you shouldn't be there. You've been there too long. What's taking you so long? Source just knows who you are unequivocally and pulses that vibration never endedly so that you have the opportunity of catching up to that which you have become on your way to launching more and more and more. You cannot get it done. And isn't that wonderful? You eternal blessed being. We all push the leading edge. In other words, we are all enjoying the ride. The leading edge is where all of the fun is. The leading edge, that feeling of adventure, is where it all is. That feeling of wanting something just beyond what I'm ready to allow, and then the quest to come into alignment with it, and then the ecstasy of achieving it, and then the satisfaction of a new vantage point with new contrasting points that cause another launching, and then the recognition that I'm not quite there, but the knowledge that I can get there, and then the ability and capacity to come into alignment with it, and then the thrill of getting close to it and finding myself coming into alignment, and the feeling of the contrasting experiences as it clicks into place, and then the satisfaction of watching all universal forces rush in around to give me the manifestation of it, and then the satisfaction in recognizing what I've done, and then the adventure of the now new contrasting experience which gives birth to the next. You don't stand here in this time-space reality to give birth to things because they need to be birthed. For heaven's sakes, did the world really need another song? Or another painting, or another building? You don't build that stuff or paint that stuff or dream that stuff because there is a lack of it and it needs to be done. You do it for the thrill of it because that's who you are. That's the quest. That's the eternal promise for all of us. We never get it done. We are eternal beings. It is the joy of life. That's what this contrasting universe promises, you see. And when you lose sight of the fact that there will always be something more, then we can see how you'd get fixated on really needing that and being so discouraged because you can't get that. But when you understand that when you get that, there'll be more, and when you get that, there'll be more, and when you get that, there'll be more, then you get into the rhythm of not being upset about anything ever that hasn't manifested just now. Instead, you begin to enjoy the ride. It's like the guy or girl on the surfboard. They're not looking for the end of that ride. They don't say, oh boy, I can't wait till I paddle out there and get right in sync with it. I cannot wait for this ride to be over. I can't wait until the ocean flattens itself back out again and I have accomplished this ride on this surfboard. They keep going after the crest, after the crest, after the crest, after the crest. It's what you are all wanting. You're reaching for the orgasm. You're reaching for the crest of the wave. You're reaching for the manifestation. And once the manifestation comes, you say, oh, whoopee. The manifestations are not the big deal that you tend to want to make them to be. They are just the excuse for the getting onto the wave. And what we are wanting you to feel, and we know you know this, is that as you allow yourself to explore the contrast with no trepidation or fear because you know you've got control, then as you get out there in a more adventurous fashion and you allow your life to give you bigger ideas, then the ride is funner still, funner still. And if you ever want to know how your inner being, source, is enjoying your ride, just get happy and feel the way we feel with you. We don't want to hurt your feelings, but we feel that way about your ride, whether you're with us on it or not. In other words, you're giving source energy one wonderful ride. It was sort of our agreement. And the reason that we are here in this format, visiting with you as we are, with the willingness of all of you and the willingness of Jerry and Esther, is because we want you now in on the ride. Future generations certainly will benefit from what you stir up, but why not you now? And they will not enjoy the ride that you've launched like you have the potential of writing it. In other words, when somebody does something for you, it's not nearly the ride as when you think about it and you make it happen. You are creators, and a creator must create.